Good morning. Today, I'd like to talk about something a bit heavy. But it's a conversation we need to have to understand how fragile the peace we enjoy actually is. On May 11, 2026, a shocking news report emerged from Ukraine. The National Anti-Corruption Bureau officially notified Andriy Yermak, President Zelenskyy's former right-hand man and chief of staff, as a suspect in a money laundering investigation. We're talking about roughly $11 million. This is the fall of a man once named one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people, a man who was always by the hero's side. Something feels off. Many of you probably feel it too. Today, using this corruption news as a starting point, I want to explore the backstage of war that the media rarely shows, and the critical points we must never overlook when choosing our leaders. President Zelenskyy is now idolized as a hero by the global press. But do you remember what his approval rating was in late 2021, just before the invasion? It was around 31%. In a democracy, that's practically a terminal state. He had failed to deliver on his promise to eradicate corruption. The economy was stagnant, and the public was beginning to see him as incompetent. This brings us to a cold theory in political science, the diversionary theory of war. It's when a leader who has lost domestic support provokes an external enemy to stir up nationalism and cling to power. The tiger's tail he stepped on was the constitutional amendment to pursue NATO membership, done through a parliamentary vote without a national referendum. This legally eliminated any room for diplomatic negotiation with Russia. Was this truly the will of the people at the time? Or was it the ultimate gamble by a desperate administration to survive? Some might want to believe he is perfectly clean. But when you look at the data, the picture changes. First, the Pandora papers leaked in 2021. It revealed that just before becoming president, Zelenskyy owned multiple offshore companies in tax havens. There were allegations of massive funds flowing into his accounts from a controversial oligarch. And now, in May 2026, we have the Energoatom scandal, a massive corruption scheme involving about $100 million in kickbacks related to state-owned nuclear power contracts. The current charges against Yermak are said to be part of this web. While young soldiers are losing their lives at the front, and citizens are enduring blackouts and freezing cold, hundreds of millions of dollars were moving through the inner circle of the presidential office. How fairly has the media reported this reality? The brighter the light on the hero, the harder it is to see the shadow behind him. This isn't just a scandal in a far-off country. It's a mirror for all of us. Every nation faces moments where their leaders talk about patriotism and unity to drown out their own failures. When a leader loudly calls for sacrifice, we need to look at their feet. Are they protecting the lives of the citizens? Or are they protecting their own power base built on corruption? We cannot afford to choose our leaders based on image or emotion alone. The tragedy in Ukraine tells us the weight of that responsibility. Once you step on the tiger's tail without a true national consensus, there is often no turning back. The cost is always paid by the citizens, not the leaders. Another point we must confront is the state of free speech within Ukraine. Since the war began, President Zelenskyy has consolidated major TV channels into a single state-controlled broadcast called Telemarathon, ensuring only government-approved information reaches the public. Opposition activities have been restricted, and journalists who criticize the administration often find themselves labeled as Russian assets. When dissent is suppressed to maintain the hero narrative, we must ask, is this the democracy we are fighting to protect? The coldest reality of all lies in the prospect of post-war reconstruction. It is estimated that hundreds of billions of dollars will flow into rebuilding Ukraine. The fact that corruption scandals involving high-ranking officials like Yermak are surfacing now suggests they may already be positioning themselves, not for the end of the war, but for the reconstruction profits. If the very land citizens are dying for is being viewed as a massive business opportunity by those in power, it might explain the true reason why this conflict seems never-ending. The world is far more complex and thrilling than we are led to believe. Believing in absolute justice in one person is easy, but it's also a form of giving up on thinking. We must question the fairness of the media, follow the facts, and trust our intuition. No matter how dark the news is, we can still appreciate our daily lives and live with joy. The key is to have the strength not to be deceived, to look directly at the darkness of power, yet keep our hearts positive. That might be the only way for us to remain truly free. I'll end my walk here today. What do you think about the shadow of the hero? Let me know in the comments. I'll see you on the next walk. Have a wonderful day.